William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
And if I get tax credits out of it, BJ, can I get you to join the table? Now we need some diversity. I'll join that. Yeah, come join us. You need photos, that's correct. Yeah, you can. It's the kids' table, you know. True. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone for coming. My name is Edward Turner. I'm the co-chair of our community, our schools. This is
Viral Sagani, the labor community organizer with Texas New Era Center, and I'm on the steering committee of our community our schools.
Yes. So our community, our schools coalition that consists of about 25 plus different organizations from ALT, NEA, AFL-CIO, Texas Organizing Project, Alternate Voices, BLULAC, NAACP. This organization was created because of Home Rule. When Home Rule came about, a lot of organizations came together to join forces to fight against something we felt was going to be a threat to the community and the school and education system, right? But the interesting thing about how people can definitely not agree on one particular issue, there are issues that some of us who probably did agree with Home Rule did agree on, and that's about our kids and funding for education. We all know that the state is definitely cutting. So our community, our schools joined forces with Strong Schools, Strong Dallas, which is a coalition that's focused on a lot of educational stuff like NIC and whatever it is. Y'all data geeks, man. Yeah, but I'm saying that to say is that the reason I'm happy to be a part of this organization and a part of this coalition because people are actually working together in the best interest of kids, okay? And a lot of the fighting is kind of going away. We're trying to build trust in doing what we're supposed to do with kids. So this presentation here, I'm a member of Leadership ISD. I'm a fellow of Leadership ISD. And during our fellow class, they brought all the alumni and the current fellows together and did a presentation on the TRE. And it's part of the budget game as well. So these sheets that y'all see on your table, we're going to go through because some of y'all don't know how finance in school works. It's very interesting, okay? So, bear with me. Well, I just get that like that. So the objective today, the next hour, what you'll do is you'll become a more informed voter. We also want you to get insight on the complex issues with education, and also we want to talk about making a plan to influence the decision makers. So as many of y'all know, 89% of DISD students are economically disadvantaged. 1 in 3 students are at DISD are reading at grade level by 4th grade. 1 in 3. That's serious, right? This is serious data. And we're talking about 46% of the gap between white students, 55% of the students of color, 9% passing college entry exams like SAT, ACT, TSI, and whatever the heck stands for. I don't know. I'm not gonna make it up, right? Also, we gotta think about are we making significant progress? You know, that we have made some progress with the ISD. When you look at the ACE program, 6 out of 7 schools in the ACE schools actually came off of IR status. And I can attest personally to that because I was the SBDM chair at Dade for 2 years when it was in chaos. And I was the SBDM chair when it became an ACE school. And Dade went from number 31 of all the middle schools, and it's ranked number 3 now. In 1 year, right? 1 year. Same community, same kids, same issues, same socioeconomic disadvantages. It was just bringing in the right partners, the right resources, and the right leadership to actually turn the school around, okay? We also had a 12% increase in kindergarten readiness. That's important because when kids start getting pre-K, is so important that kids get their head start. Got 22 early college high school programs that's going to have by 2018. So we're looking at high school students being able to graduate with at least 60 college credit hours. I don't know about you, but college is expensive, and you know, I keep getting this bill from Sally Mae every month, and I wish I had 60 college credit hours to come back somewhere. She's definitely getting it from me. Also, we still have much work to get done because we still have this gap between our white students and our students of color. And we're talking about 73% of white students and students of color, 35% access to AP and IB classes. Like, that's important because those AP classes and IB classes are what's going to get you to the next level of being college readiness. And we need to make sure that our African American kids and our low performing kids are getting those classes. Also, 1 out of 4 students living in ISD boundaries option for private or public charter schools. That's 1 in 4. That's 25%. And ISD has nearly 160,000 students. So just do the math. That's a whole lot of kids. And you also have to keep in mind that we have 4 consecutive years of declining ISD student enrollment. And it's actually projected to hold for 2017-2018 school year. So, ISD 2017-2018 projected increase for strategic innovation pre-K, 60 million, early college, collegiate campus 15.5 million, ACE program 5.5 million, public choice 3 million, strategic TEI and PEI 28 million, which totals out to $58 million. Yet it's still, ISD needs $58 million to grow some of the most successful initiatives. And yet, we will lose another $60 million to state funding next year, which is a total funding gap of $118 million. That's a lot of money, right? I don't know what you'll do with $118 million. So, can the district make budget cuts? Okay, so next thing what we have right here on your table, we want y'all to think about this. Just each, right here you see the paper form here, okay? So as a group, I want y'all to work together, and I want y'all to think about how much ISD spends in this budget for these different services. Instructional support, maintenance support, it has to come out to a total of 100%. So you might think they spend 20% on student transportation or 10% on central office, whatever you think. So I want you to work in your group, take 10 minutes to work in your group to think about how do you think ISD is spending this money.
And then have one person from your group report out.
Yeah, have
Assign one person to report out.
I like to acknowledge Dr. Blackburn, Trustee Blackburn, for joining us today. Okay. Time's up. Can we get it? Do we have a group that want to voluntarily report back on what you thought? That's Sunday, man. It's Sunday. After church.
Come on, somebody's got to volunteer.
Come on, somebody has to volunteer. Which group? Which take one about back here? Which take volunteer? So what did you think about instruction and support? What was your numbers?
I guess we'll go.
Go first.
So we brought instruction and support 15%.
Okay.
Should I just go down the line?
Let's go down the line.
Okay. Facilities and maintenance 20%.
Okay.
Debt service 5%. Central office staff 10%. Student support service 15%. Student transportation 5%.
Okay.
Extracurricular 15%. Security 10%, and then we put 5% for other.
Okay. All right, cool. What about this group?
Yeah, look. Instruction and support, we have 20%, facilities and maintenance 15%, debt services 3%, central office staff 10%, student support services 3%, student transportation 7%, extracurricular have 10%, security 7%, other 6%.
Okay. What about back here? The back table. Dr. Blackburn, you didn't get an answer, did you? Okay.
We have instruction and support 50%, facilities and maintenance 15%, debt service 5%, central office 8%, student support 10%, student transportation 1%, extracurricular 1%, security 5%, and others 5%.
All right, wonderful. Okay, great. So, what's the answers? 60% goes towards instruction and support salaries. That's the teacher salaries. That's instructional coaches, right? And support staff. And support staff. Is that what I got right? Right, okay. All right, so facilities and maintenance, right? 10%. That's one reason we was fighting for a bond. Right. So the facilities, maintenance, you gotta think about the people that come in and fix the air conditioning, and do a lot of that stuff. Anytime, even when you think about the grass getting cut, okay, that's a part of maintaining the facility. You know, when a pipe bursts, when they do a water test. You know, a lot of people think facility, think of building buildings, but it's a lot more. The upkeep of a building costs money, and 10% is. We have a lot of buildings. We've got about 250 schools in the ISD. Keep up with? Yeah, a lot of buildings. Okay, debt services, 12%. Okay. Costs a lot of money. Make money. Costs money, make money. Okay. Central office. How much do y'all think central office is? That's 3,700 Ross. 4%. Only 4% is spent in central office. Y'all think all that stuff? They're just making all that money down there. Not true. Student support. 4%. Yes. Transportation. 3%. Do y'all notice, you know, y'all take the math games and the science, y'all notice a pattern here? What's happening with the percentages? Gets smaller. Extracurricular activities. 2%. Yes. So football and all those other things. Security is 2%. Yes. And other, 2% on other.
And I have a question.
Go ahead.
Premature. Okay. Especially when I'm in extracurricular.
Right.
Is that 2% include all the fundraisers and all the stuff for give, donations for cheerleading, all that? That included in that thing?
Now, this is when we talk about the district budget. This is
Strictly budget.
Budget, right? This is what the district budgets. Anything the school gets extra from donation is extra in their piggy bank that they have to go out and get. It's not what downtown puts in their budget. Okay. Is that correct? I have that BlackBerry here so I can polish it. Right, that's what that's good, right? So it's pretty safe to say that this is pretty factual on how the budget is spent at the ISD. So because a lot of times we assume, but we really don't know. Okay. Okay, there we go. So 2017, 2016, they cut a total of $19 million already. Reduced 50 assistant principals, eliminated math in 2020, eliminated the guest teacher positions. A lot of this stuff was brought in under Mike Miles, correct? So a lot of this stuff was eliminated. 2017, 2018 budget cuts, reducing the central office expenditures, as well as campus ratio staffing adjustments. So you have little money. That's how much money that was cut. 3.9 million was cut from the teacher reduction. 4.9 million from the guest program. 12.6 million from Imagine 2020. No technology, right? Get my slide on change.
It did.
Okay, all right. So that was 38.5 million and 40 million cut from okay. Okay. All right, so what options exist to increase funding? Policy, the Senate and the House budget, House Senate Bill and Senate Bill 1, House Bill 1. We had the bond, what, $1.6 billion passed in 2015, and we got a TRE that could possibly increase the local tax rates to 1.17 to yield an additional $100 million a year. Those are my three options to be able to bring in money. as you know, that your state is not giving us any money. Any money. Okay, and I'm going to turn it over here to you in a minute, and I'm almost done. But as you saw, about the state, 2018 public education fund was 45.9%. 2016 it dropped to 38.4%. The total reduction in state funding allocated to DISD 2016-2017, $50 million. So we got to figure out some way to get some money. Now this map right here is interesting because what it shows is DISD has the third lowest tax rate of all 55 ISDs in North Texas. We're right here. The only two districts that are lower than us is Azle and Highland Park. Highland Park, I mean, that's just a no-brainer, right? But you start looking at schools that are still my kids, like DeSoto, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, Grand Prairie, Lancaster ISD, they have some of the highest property tax rates for education compared to Dallas ISD. Those are the numbers, I didn't make them up.
Also note the location where Dallas ISD is. It has one of the highest percentages of economically disadvantaged students.
Yes.
So understand where the funding is for our schools, and then understand where the students are economically and demographically.
Yes. So right here is just the tax allocation summary. Currently, property tax allocated for education is 1.28. When it comes to allocation for debt and services, 24 cents. Operation and programs, $1.04. Possible increase in property tax operation programs, 0.13%. This brings the new tax rate to $1.41. Okay. This new funding will actually bring into the TRA, will bring an additional $104 million, which increases about $650 per student in the ISD. But that's kind of out of Okay, so that's my presentation. That's all I have. I'll turn it over to Narod. Any questions?
What's TRA again?
Tax ratification election.
Tax what?
Tax ratification election.
And you were actually about to learn a little bit more about the TRA.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello everyone, I'm Nirav Singhani. I introduced myself earlier. Before I move on, we have another staff person that's in the back over there that should introduce herself.
Lorraine was my with the Dallas State Association.
Heard about you.
You know, those bands that
All right, so bear with me for a moment in case this doesn't go right. This is a fun new presentation tool. We've been messing with it for a while now, but you know how technology works. It might have some kinks in it. So our coalition is calling this campaign A Tale of Two Schools, Which Will You Choose? And this is basically the idea if we maintain funding levels where they are in our underfunded schools, we can end up with a classroom you can see looks clearly like that. I know it's a little extreme, but that has ceilings caving in and walls coming down and asbestos and all kinds of bad things. But if we can properly fund our schools, it'll look like that. A fantastic utopia for our children to be able to learn and thrive. So, why is public education in Dallas under attack? Neither President Trump nor Education Secretary Betsy DeVos have any experience in public education, yet they are moving aggressively to upend our public schools as we know it and redirect public school funding to private and charter schools. Right now in DISD, we are bleeding students to charter schools and to private schools. Oh yeah, we have a video.
Daily uses to deprivingly institutionalized by
See technology.
the schools in Detroit are poor, and it is not because we are poor.
Detroit student Dana Wilson wants better education for her city.
But I've also been in oversized classrooms with outdated textbooks. I've been a victim of principal turnovers.
She's speaking out against Betsy DeVos, President Trump's choice for education secretary.
Detroit students are denied daily use of the deprivingly institutionalized by Betsy DeVos and her duplicates.
DeVos is from Michigan and has long pressed for charter and private schools there. That has raised some concerns, like the denial of a quality education for some students.
My parents drive 165 miles a week for quality education.
Detroit has nearly 52,000 students in its public school district. It's been in the spotlight for having to close schools that have underperformed. But it's not just the public schools that have issues with performance. The Detroit Free Press found that despite the billion tax dollars Michigan's charter schools get, there is corruption and little accountability, even if they don't perform well.
All right. So, what our takeaway from this is that this is possibly what could happen. And this isn't just like one extreme case of something that happens to one city far off away that will never impact us. There is, at the moment, federal attacks on our local public education system. So we just need to keep that in mind, that we're not just looking at this in budgeting terms, we're also looking at this as national attacks to privatize our schools. So in the state of Texas, anyone familiar with what's going on with the push for vouchers? Yes, no? Raise your hands if you're familiar with the situation. All right, a good number of folks in the room. That's excellent. So, vouchers are not the solution. According to an analysis by our Indiana School Choice Scholarship Program by the Center for Tax and Budget Accountability in 2015, none of the independent studies performed the most lauded and long-standing voucher programs extant in the U.S., Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Cleveland, Ohio, and Washington, D.C., found any statistical evidence that children who utilize vouchers perform better than children who did not and remained in public schools. So if that was a little bit too fast, what this says that voucher programs and charter schools don't actually show that there is increased levels of understanding and learning and participation. They're not producing better students than public schools are. And so this is important because we need to make sure that when we're looking at this, we're not jumping on the side of vouchers, we're not jumping on the side of charter schools. All we need to do is properly fund our public education system, and we won't have to deal with any of this extra stuff. Donald Trump, our favorite person. Education reformers call this school choice, charter schools, vouchers, even opportunity scholarships. I call it competition the American way. To some folks, this may seem like a good thing, but in our education system, it shouldn't be competing schools versus schools, right? This is education for all of our children. So it shouldn't be a matter of competition because this is not business. This is about educating all of our students equally and the right way. So, what's going on with Dallas ISD? We learned a little bit about the budget stuff from Ed. So I'm going to run through this just really quickly. Texas ranks 38th in average for student spending, and this is nationally. We're one of the lowest in the country for how we spend per our students. If student enrollment doesn't increase significantly, DISD faces Robin Hood as soon as 2018 to 2019 and will lose up to $343 million to the state by 2021-2022. $343 million is a lot of money. Pretty obviously. From 2008 to 2016, the state share of Dallas ISD funding was reduced by $50 million. So we have been getting less and less money from the state, but as you all know, costs constantly rise. And so, as I mentioned before, we are bleeding children to charters from our Dallas Independent School District. Sorry, I put these arrows in here thinking they were going to go faster. Apparently not so much. So what? Do DISD schools really need more money? What do y'all think? Yes or no? Yes. So, we move on to a tax ratification election. What is a tax ratification election, or a TRE? A TRE is a special election called by the Board of Trustees asking the voters to approve a 13-cent increase. Revenue that can go towards teachers' salaries, high-quality pre-K, and early college programs. So here's the big thing when it comes to school funding. Many school districts in Texas are in urgent need of funds. Dallas is no different. But why can't we just use school bonds instead of tax dollars? And you hear a lot about bond financing, right, versus increasing the taxes. And so here's the difference. So, with bond financing, you can only really apply it towards very specific things: construction and renovation, acquisition of land, and purchase of capital items like school buses. But what is bonds? What can we not? If we use bond financing, what can we not do with it? It cannot be used for salaries, supplies, utilities, insurance, equipment, and cost of day-to-day operations. And after the little game that we played, you all saw how much money we need in order to fund those things. So we cannot rely just on bond financing for those items. Or we can't rely on just what we generate in regular taxes for all of those items. And so, how can a tax ratification elect help our school? That small increase that we saw from the game, that we would get from a tax ratification election, it may not seem like a lot from an individual's pocket when it comes to taxes, but it actually can make a huge dent. And so these are the different things that we can do to help our schools with that increase. Early childhood education. High quality early childhood education programs prevent the achievement gap from forming. Decades of research on programs such as High Scope Perry Preschool and Chicago Parent-Child Centers show that high-quality early childhood programs for vulnerable children increase childhood literacy and high school graduation rates, not to mention reducing crime and teen pregnancy. It's kind of a big deal, right? I mean, can you imagine that if we actually were to implement properly early childhood education, how much impact that would have on our neighborhoods and our communities, right? So I'm a little tired of talking. Does anybody else want to read the next one? Can I get a volunteer? Community schools. Come on, somebody volunteer.
Community schools, schools that serve the whole child and family by having support services on campus, culturally relevant and challenging curriculum, real parent engagement, support and training for teachers, positive, effective approach to discipline, and shared leadership.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So there's an importance in creating community schools. We want to make sure that it's not just the basic level education we're providing for our students. We want to make sure that our children get an all-around service in our schools. Early college and career programs. Can another volunteer to read? There.
Since higher education is a necessity in today's workforce, attending an early college program while still in high school is a proactive way to ensure students are on a clear path towards obtaining a college degree. This early experience will help to keep students on the right track towards graduating from high school, give them a head start on their college education, and provide them a competitive edge when it comes time to apply for their first.
So right now, what are we dealing with as this country? Rising education costs, rising higher education costs, right? We have students that are coming out of high school that aren't prepared for college. They aren't prepared to go in, to pick their jobs, do whatever they need to do. So this is incredibly important. Higher pay for teachers and staff. Any other volunteer? Anybody? Oh, come on. Somebody wants to read this.
A quality education begins with quality teachers who earn professional pay. If we want to attract, retain, and motivate the best and the brightest, we need to raise the starting salaries of teachers to be competitive with other professions. Our average teacher on average, teachers spend close to $500 a year out of pocket on classroom supplies. This can be as much as $19,000 per Dallas ISD school.
So there's a myth, right? There's a myth floating around that teachers are overpaid, right? That is we got somebody laughing in the back. That is absolutely not true. Teachers are not overpaid. These are folks that are taking care of your children, they're educating your children, they're shaping your children for the future. And if $40,000 or $50,000 a year to folks is overpaid, we've got some real serious issues on it. We got some real serious issues. And to understand that amount, $500 a year out of pocket on classroom supplies, that's just an average. It's just an average.
Many teachers spend much more than that every year supplying the class with the necessary supplies they need, keeping up with their bulletin boards and resources and everything in order to engage the kids on a regular basis. It's just impossible to keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. And does that seem right to anyone? Should a teacher have to pay that much out of pocket for necessary supplies for the classroom? Right? It's not. So, with increased revenue, we can have happy schools. With all those components together, we can have happy children and happy schools. And so, how do we get a tax ratification election? One, we need the DISD Board of Trustees for the public to have a say in whether DISD schools will be properly funded. 6 out of 9 of the trustees must approve a ballot measure. And then we'll need a special election. Once the Board of Trustees approves the tax ratification election, the question would go onto the ballot for a special election in October this year. And then we need to get out the vote. With a special election, we still need people to get out and vote. For that, we need help to spread the information far and wide. And look, that's a little child telling you to go out and vote. We also need you to be that little child. We need help to get the vote out. We need to make sure we get as many folks out to vote on this, otherwise our schools are going to suffer. Accountability. So once we do get the tax ratification election, in order for our schools to get what they need, we need to make sure the ISD trustees know where we need resources most, right? Again, going back to the percentages of where we saw it all broke down, how the different dollar amounts go to different things, we need to make sure that as a community, as the taxpayers, we are having a say in how additional revenue is being spent for the best aspects of our school. And so, come October, we want the TRE, yeah, everybody! Woo! Come on, there's balloons! But what's next? One does not simply let the trustees alone decide where the money goes. Anybody Lord of the Rings fans?
Yeah.
So, we need to hold our trustees accountable. While we may not be able to directly designate where the additional revenue should be spent, we still have a say about which metrics we want to measure. This is done by creating a list of goals we want Dallas ISD schools to accomplish. And so here are some potential indicators that we could use. Racial and economic equity. Sorry about that. Mastery of core academic content. Ability to think critically, collaborate, and communicate. And less suspensions, more support, and teaching positive behavior. And so, which path will you choose? Do you want to go with the busted up school, or do you want to go with one that's amazing and beautiful and has everything that our children need? All right, so next, after all of this information, I know it was a lot to process and a lot to take in, we want to allow you to come together and talk within your groups and figure out what are some good accountability metrics? What are things that we would want to see happen in our schools within a span of 5 years, so that we know the money is being spent properly, so that we know that our children are getting the best education and the best environment that they deserve. So Lorraine, I believe, is passing out a couple sheets of paper. It has a few questions on there to help guide your conversation along. We want you to write down what your answers are on those, because we want to take all of this information and we want to put it to use. This isn't just stuff that's going to get thrown into a desk or onto a stack. We're actually going to use this information to help us figure out which indicators are necessary, and what we want to make sure that we include into the larger campaign for this. So we're going to take, how long? 20 minutes? Half hour?
And there's a survey in the packet if you want to complete.
Oh yes, in the packet that you received at the sign-in table, there is a survey that you can fill out. We will be compiling all this information and using it as well. So please take some time and fill out the survey. And then once we're done, you have one person assigned that can report back just a general idea of the information that you all wrote down. Does that sound good to everyone? All right, cool. Pretty good amount of time having our table discussion, so let's bring it back together as a group and let's talk about some of the stuff that we discussed. Does any other tables want to share an analysis or a summary of what y'all talked about? Maybe you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, we'll kick it off.
All right. Thank you.
So question number one, how do you think the TRE money should be spent? We have several ideas, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the leading ideas were focusing on the struggling schools. We talked about parent-teacher engagement programs, the guidance counselors, tutoring, reading coaches, proper testing of learning abilities so that you have people, know where to put people for proper resources. And, pie in the sky, but teacher-to-student ratio. Thinking that can solve a lot of problems just getting the right number of students to teach.
Excellent. Don't go pie in the sky because everything is possible. Right? Yeah. That's great. That's great. Anybody else want to go? I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of overlap, right? Like we all want to see kind of similar things going on. But so if just for the sake of time, if you didn't hear it, if you have something new that you want to share, go ahead and share.
Sure. So, just some things from our conversation. One, emotional training for students, because we have our kids that don't know how to handle their emotions, and making sure that we still continue supporting the community liaisons, so we still have them. And things to measure is parent engagement. So their PTA attendance, their parent-teacher conference attendance, their interactions with their child's instructor, and still looking at, the attendance and enrollment, and making sure that they're not jumping ship after a certain age in elementary, junior high, and then coming back. Like, how are we going to keep them in if we're providing a great program to the community?
Excellent.
Something that didn't come up, but that I would want to add would be we need to look at the K-8 model, because if we're leading students to the middle school level, and we can keep them on a former elementary campus, that might be a way that we can really strengthen our connection to the students.
Okay, great. That's excellent. Anybody else in the back? Tony, you're just writing away back there. What do you got? Yeah. Okay. So let's do it.
Basically, what I would most one of the other things you said was investing in teacher retention programs.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like we have a lot of pretty common themes, right? We're talking about the programs for our students, making sure, it all really comes back to just making sure our schools are properly funded, right? So what we're going to do next, and we're going to be over here in a couple minutes, so all the stuff that you've written on, all those sheets that you've marked all the notes on, stuff like that, we want to collect those because we want to read through them and actually read through all of your answers on everything so we can compile it ourselves, because we want to use all the information. The point of this whole thing today was to hear from you so we can use what you want for your schools and apply it towards this campaign. So there are questionnaires that you all have. If you haven't filled them out yet, please take a little bit of time and get those filled out. We are definitely using those questionnaires to shape what a lot of this looks like. And so every single one matters to us.
Yeah. Can I make a statement before we close?
Yeah, absolutely.
First, I'm going to apologize for getting here a little bit late. I was at another program previously over at the Fair Park. One of the things I found there is I have a lot of colleagues that work at colleges and universities in student support service programs, in the type of program that we want our young people to get into at the university to make sure that they graduate from the university and they get the degrees in those fields that they are going to be able to live with a living wage. But I found university after university saying, well, I'm going to be cutting, my job's going to be cut at the end of the year. We're cutting back. The state is putting that a 3% cut across the board to all institutions and things. Well, at the university, they're cutting back at the counseling, student support, that type of developmental thing. We can't have that when the district is also cutting back. They have cut ahead of college and career readiness. And several of the others, that department technically will still be there. But when I talk to the counselors at the schools, they say they're cutting back a lot of the support people that we would get. So now we're going to be on our own at the campuses to know where the scholarships are and how to help the students get into universities. Folks, we're going back 10, 15, 20 years in that whole support for the students that are going to be in the pre-college track and getting ready for college. If we don't talk about a TRA, we're going to be faced with a situation in Dallas where we're going to have to live with a permanent situation that our kids are not going to have any options. We'll go back in time. We're not going to go forward. we really need to the reduction, not only to ensure that we get the CLA, because the cuts that are coming federal, state, we're gonna have to pick up the local.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, and then one last thing before everyone takes off. Understand that this isn't it, like we're not done here, right? Like we have to get a special election in October, and even if we do get the election, we need people to go out and vote, right? So we need folks to help us, to knock on some doors in the communities to help us get that vote out. And so y'all signed in, we're gonna give you a call, so expect it. And come join us at school board meetings, come join us at our organizational community meetings. Like, come out, because we have more stuff other than just education to worry about, and we need all these folks to get more involved. So thank you all very much for being here.
And one last thing, I want to invite y'all out to, on next Saturday, Wine is having its Eagle Fest community event. It's a great thing for our community to participate in. We're going to have different vendors out there, healthcare providers, people talking about after-school programs, summer camps, parents to be able to sign up for this. Also, this TRE conversation is something that we're going to do more of. We're going to try to do some ISD here in the Patreon. So we're going to work on inviting more of the people in the community, which is going to require go out, knock the door. This whole thing here was promoted via social media. But social media doesn't work out there. So we have to like to knock the door and talk. And we'll be having more people in the conversation that are really going to be effective. Okay? All right, thank y'all very much for coming. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Yes.
If you want to drop off your surveys and your sheet, thanks for coming out.
Appreciate it.
I am. That's why I said that. That was like.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.